everyone, my name is Ava and I'm going to talk to you about some good study tips on how to study for the CCA exam. First off, I want to start by talking about the code books. So, I took the 2019 CCA exam, and of course, you have your CPT code book, which is the AMA book, American Medical Association. And then you have the ICDC-10 PCS, and then the ICDC-10 CM Expert for Hospitals. All of them 2019. And the last two books are Optimum 360. So, and you have, here's one of them, and then you have the CM. And so, this code book didn't come with any tabs, so I made my own tabs, as you can see. And I would highly recommend that you tab all of your books. It just makes them a lot easier for you to be able to flip through the pages when you're taking your exam, because of course you only have 2 hours to answer 100 question tests. And if anyone that has ever sat for these types of exams knows that it's very hard to complete a 100 question test in 2 hours, but it can be done and it has to be done. So those are the 3 books that I use to take my CCA exam. And of course I took me a medical dictionary, and just what it is. I'm guessing, I think they have one that they recommend on AHIMA. I don't know. So those are the code books that I use. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything that they had on the exam, because one, I don't remember, and you're not supposed to, so I don't want to get in trouble. I'm just going to give you some tips on how to study for it, and maybe if you're not taking a CCA, maybe you can apply these same concepts to whatever exam that you're taking, and to kind of help you with your study habits. So you have your code books, and you're going to want to make sure you tab your books. The first thing that I recommend that you go through your books and you see where everything is placed. You see what type of knowledge is in there. As far as like the appendix. Like they may give you some illustrations. They may give you some drug names, and they may tell you what the drugs are used for. They may tell you, a lot of these books may tell you how to even use the book. So go and read that, read the table of contents, familiarize yourself with your books. Especially read the introduction pages. They have prefixes in there and the meanings and examples that they are used. Read that kind of stuff. Familiarize yourself with your code books. Definitely do that. That is one of the biggest tips. Your code books will answer a lot of the questions that are on the test. Like if you're coding for something, it will tell you to not use that code for that book, or it will tell you use this code in addition to using that code, and it teaches you how to sequence those codes. So familiarize yourself with your books. Read them, understand them. That is how you learn how to code, and you'll be able to code a lot faster. Because if you see that it's going to be added on there, because the CCA exam is multiple choice, so if you see that you have an add-on code, then right then and there, and it'll tell you what add-on code to add. So you'll test faster. So that's my spill on the code books. As far as like anything else about reimbursement and insurance part, I struggled with that at first of learning it, because a lot of stuff I didn't understand, and I think what I didn't understand was the definition and the terms. So when I was reading the books, which I studied from this book and this book. Now this is just a workbook, but I studied from the actual book, and I looked up, and when I was in the area for reimbursement and insurance, I made sure that I knew what all those definitions were, like PPS, prospective payment systems, You know, you got the IPPS. You have the IPPS 3-day thing or whatever. What MSDRG is. What is a DRG? What is RV, resource value utilization, something like that. I can't remember what the abbreviation is, but I think it's RVUBS, something like that. I don't know what all those abbreviations were and what the definition was for it and how to apply it to whatever is being asked. If you know the definitions of your of these terms, you can answer just about any question on that test. And then not only that, when you're studying, study to understand what you're reading. Do not study to memorize things, because if you're just going to study and try to memorize something, you're not going to pass. So, you know, you have to read to understand what you're studying, so you'll retain it better. If you're just reading to memorize, then you're not going to know how to apply that. You're going to forget it instantly. You're not going to know how to apply that information to your questions. One thing that my mother always told me was when you read something, practice how to tell someone else what you just read. If you can't explain to someone else what you read, then you don't understand the concept and how to apply it. You should be able to teach someone else what you just read, basically. Excuse me. So, in those terms, learn your definitions, learn what the abbreviations are, understand all those things. Understand how to resubmit a denial, understand how to submit a claim, what type of forms you use, understand how to, if you're reading a medical chart and there's missing information, how to ask the physician to clarify some things without leading the physician on to, you know, try to get them to say what you need them to say. You know, just basically just understand what you're reading and in that aspect. One thing about the CCA exam is that they'll tell you what you'll be tested over. For example, the health records. They're going to ask you, how would you receive a medical record? How do you receive the medical record? What are your protocols to release those records if you get a records request? You know, how to evaluate a claim denial, those type of things. So that's how one of the ways that I was able to pass the reimbursement area of that. And I already did health records in the past, medical health records, so I knew the protocols and the ways to test for that. The only thing I did not do well on was the IT part. That was my lowest score. I scored like on a 70th percentile for that. One of the code exam preparations I used was the Certified Coding Association exam book. And this is an old book, but it's great study material. Because they're only giving you the broad topics. Like then when you test for these big tests and you have all these books to study, they're not going to ask you anything in depth. They're just going to ask you the simple stuff. So the simple stuff may be, what do these terms mean? What is a PPS? What is an IPPS? How do you apply that? How do you apply a DRG? In what situations would you apply a DRG or MCC or CCA? CC. So, you know, they just give you the broad aspect of it. And so I use this book, and they also have online assessments that you can take. And these are just practice questions. It's just practice exams. Another book that I used was the CCA exam guide. And this one is a little bit more in detail. In the beginning of it, it breaks down each it breaks down, Jesus, it's not like, it breaks, you know, it gives you like a coding review health record coding review coding process for ICDC 10CM outpatient and the inpatient, and it gives you a basic breakdown, and then it has like some little questions, and it breaks it up to from the health data to the ICDC 10 coding areas. They have a whole section. They have just sections for each thing: medical science, medical billing, reimbursement, and all that kind of stuff. And then they have a little bit extra. They have mock exams. In the appendix, they have a laboratory testing information, and it gives you basically, this stuff is basically what's in your code books. So it gives you those types of information. And I really studied from this book. I didn't really study from this one. I mean, I answered a few questions out of it, but I mostly used this book. And I mostly studied from this book. Like, this one is a workbook, but I actually have the textbook. But I used this too to teach myself how to code, because it really helped me out a lot. And I'll put the information for this book in there. Another book I used for reading context was this one. And I read the parts. For this book, I really studied like the insurance and reimbursement, because I really just didn't know anything about it. But I studied the definitions of what everything was, and that's how I was able to learn. I'm not saying just study those parts, but I made sure my struggles was in reimbursement. My struggles were in reimbursement, and because I took the test one time before, and I really didn't do good because I really wasn't focused, and I really didn't take the time to really study anything. I just thought that, oh, I got this. All I need to do is learn how to code, and that's it. Turns out I didn't know how to freaking code either. I didn't understand my textbooks. So you really have to understand your coding manuals in order for you to be able to code properly. That sequencing, whether you have a principal diagnosis or you have you just have diagnosis and that's it. So you really have to understand how to code and how to sequence. That's a big thing. So I'm gonna give you my score report, which I just had it. I didn't post my score report. There's no real reason why I didn't. I just did it. But for the clinical classification systems, I had a 57. The reimbursement methodologies, I had a 55. A health record and data content, I had a 57. And the compliance, I had a 69. And the information technologies, a 17, which I said I did not score well on that. Confidentiality and privacy was a 57. So I really don't know what type of grade that was, but my past, and I wanted to share my knowledge on that, on how I was able to. When I took my exam, I had the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I was not in the mood to take the exam, and I was not in the right mental capacity to take it. But I shook it off. I prayed about it, and I really tried. And my testing experience was not a good experience, because towards the end, the lady that was proctoring me, she was on the phone, and she said she was talking about work or whatever, but she was so loud. She was really, really loud, and I let her know that you was really loud and stuff, because I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. And I couldn't say nothing while I was taking my test, because if anyone has taken the test, you know that stopping could literally cause you to fail. Like taking a bathroom break, you might say you failed. Because let me tell you, I was on question 60 and I had an hour left, so I thought I was doing good. So then I get to question 30 and see I only got 20 minutes left. I get to question 10, I only got 5 minutes left. So well, no, I was probably on 15. I had like 5 minutes left, and then I had 10 questions, had 2 minutes left. So, you know, I guessed on like 30 questions because I was so lost for time, and it was really a struggle. Now another thing that I would recommend is AHIMA has these practice exam questions that cost like $50 for you to take, and and I took that test because my code books, my study material was from 2017, so it was really old. So I want to take something updated, and so when I took it, I failed it the first time. I felt really bad, and once you take it, you can't go back and look at the answers once you click out of it and nothing. So so that's how that works. But I feel like it kind of helped me when I took that exam. So, you know, you just have to do your research. You know, if AHIMA has study books, go get them. Go get them. This is not an AHIMA book, but it's a Learning Cengage brain from the company. And this is the lady that made it. She has her RHIA and CCS, and I believe she actually wrote a book, another book for AHIMA. But this is a book that she did, and I think this is a really good book. And I'm pretty sure they have an updated one, but this book was pretty expensive, so I wasn't gonna buy a new one. And I also have the CCS book, and whenever I get ready to test for it, I'm gonna study out of it. But the CCS book is really, I believe, a different ball game. So, but whenever I get ready to take it out, I'll do that. But I think the CCS has more case studies in it. I think that's what it is. But yeah, that's my spill for it. I just want to let you guys know what the study material is, and that you really should familiarize yourself with your code books, because a lot of the answers to the questions are in the code books. Not necessarily your coding or anything, but they may ask you, what this abbreviation mean? What does what does the symbol mean? You know what I mean? Just, it may ask you simple questions like that, and you can find those answers in your code books if you know where to look. So it may ask you about a drug, and you may have no idea what that drug is used for. They have a pharmaceutical list full of drugs that'll tell you what they're used for and what they also can be used for and treat for. So, you know, you really have to know what's in those code books. They will guide you and direct you. And you can take notes. So take as many notes as you want, as long as it doesn't violate what the CCA guidelines are. You're good. They have pages just for you to take notes on after each section, especially the CPT book. Now, when I took my exam, I didn't use my PCS book at all, which I'm grateful for, because I'm not good at coding for PCS at all. So that's my spill. If anyone has any more questions, or I don't know, if I think of anything else, then I'll let you know. But I hope this helps someone. Thank you for your time, and anyone that's going to sit for the exam, reach out if you need any help. If you don't understand something, I'm not saying I'm the best person to ask, but I will definitely try to help any way I can, because I know how hard it is to study for these exams. I know how expensive they are. No one wants to sit for an exam, especially the CCA exam, paying $300 each and every time. So feel free to ask me questions. Let me know if I can help you out any way possible. I will definitely do that. Thank you. Bye.